All right, I'm excited to share the next guest on the Awaken with Maria podcast. Today, I'm interviewing Midhat Mujic, who is the club president, co-owner, founder of the Rochester Football Club, as well as a youth coach on the Youth Academy program. Midhat was born in Bosnia, and him and his family were displaced by the war and relocated in Rochester, Minnesota in 2001. Soccer has always been part of his life, and he played through high school and college level, and then professionally in Sweden, Finland, Missouri, and with the Minnesota United Reserves in 2016. In 2018, Midhat co-founded Rochester FC with longtime friend Mo, wanting to build the club around a player-first, community-focused model. He brings that same energy, discipline, and player-first mentality that carried him through his soccer career right here to Rochester, Minnesota. Midhat's vision is to build a place where the next generation of soccer players can grow, compete, and fall in love with the game just like he did. I hope you enjoy this conversation. Next episode of the Awaken with Maria podcast. My name's Maria, and I am excited to introduce our next guest. Today, we actually have Midhat Mujic, who is the club president of the Rochester Football Club. Midhat, will you just introduce yourself and let people know who you are?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Midhat Mujic. I am the club president, as Maria said, of Rochester FC. I am also a project manager at Mayo Clinic. I've been in that position since 2020, and I'm a father of 3 kids, and yeah, that's me.
All right, so our paths cross actually because this past winter, my son, who has been really getting into soccer, wanted to begin to train more in his soccer skills, etc. So we found the Rochester Football Club this winter so that my son could do some conditioning. We really enjoyed getting to know the coaches. My son has seen some really great progress. And as someone who's also been running a business for the last 5 years, I remember I'd been kind of looking at your guys' social media page, and I was like, hey, there's some things here, like your links don't work or I can't see them. And I think I just had started like messaging some little things like, hey, you guys could start doing some of this. So we actually kind of started this partnership because I was like, hey, could I help with this? And this gets to, Midhat, you said you work full-time, so you have a project management job, but you also are running this soccer club, which, as we know, has been a lot of different things from player development, coaching, running a business, all of the things. So we started to connect on some of those things about how I could help. But I want to ask, one, how did you get into this? How did you land into, as I started to dive deep into everything that you were doing, I realized you were basically running 2 businesses. You know, you have adult, professional, or semi-professional teams. You also had a youth academy. And I remember thinking, like, how is one person, I mean, you also have a great team of volunteers, but I was like, how is one person doing all of this? So I'm going to just like start out by asking, like, how did you end up here? Did you plan on running 2 businesses? Like, how did you start living this aspect of your purpose?
Yeah, so when I first thought about this in 2018, I went into this thinking about, just having one team, semi-pro team. So when I had that discussion with Mo, it kind of, in 2019, we started with one semi-pro team in the UPSL, and then we had kids youth team, one youth team.
So, okay, hold on. Also tell listeners who's Mo, because I should have mentioned as well, with the Rochester Football Club, there are actually 3 co-owners, but 2 of you founded the football club. So to give some context, who did you have this conversation with? Like, and did you really think you guys were going to go for it? Like, how did that go?
Yeah. So Mo is Muharem Dedic. He was one of the founders with me, and then Rafa Sierra joined us as one of the owners, I think in like 2023. Yeah, so I approached Mo because Mo is big in the community, especially in the Bosnian community. He knows soccer. He is well known in the area. He played professionally, so he's got that experience. And I played with Mo, so I knew he had interest in the soccer thing and potentially youth. So yeah, we sat by his pool, had a discussion, talked about it, and right that day, he's like, yeah, let's do it. So from there, it's just kind of, moving forward with step by step. Yeah.
And you started with a UPSL team, like a men's team?
Correct. UPSL in the Premier Division, which was the top division of the UPSL that year. So we started with that and had a lot of local talent, which is why we initially started the soccer club, is to give experience to local players. And, from that point on, we just wanted to continue developing kids and providing opportunities. So, slowly as we developed, we started getting more kids, expanding to more teams, and this is where we are today.
So with the youth academy side, who were, and again, I call it, youth academy, but again, at the beginning, it sounds like you guys were just like, you had a UPSL side and then you had a youth team. Did that comprise primarily of just some kids that you guys had known at the time? Some kids, because I know Mo's kids were maybe around a little bit older, or not older, but I just mean like they were in their teens maybe. So did it start with just kids you knew?
No. So surprisingly, we knew a few kids in that U12 range, but there was a lot of families that were interested in exploring other options.
Okay.
And at that point, we had a nonprofit side to our youth, which had compromised of a couple other individuals who had a kid that played on the U12 team as well. And she knew quite a bit of people that were looking to change clubs, local clubs. So it was kind of word of mouth that spread, and we had a full roster of kids that year. So it was kind of, it was nice and quick and not a lot of work to recruit on our end.
Yeah. Because I think that's what we saw, since I started helping and came on, and we're in 2026 already. So it's been I'm bad at math, 8 years, something like that. But I mean, in this last year, you had a youth competitive team at just about every age level, right? We had U9, U10, U12, U4, kind of like U14, 15, 17. I just feel like it was like, boom, we had a lot of growth in this last year. And we learned a lot. But it feels like a staple for you guys has been a lot of word of mouth and families maybe just looking for something different, because one thing doesn't always work for every family, right? So I feel like Rochester FC has been a great just option for families looking for something different. But so as the person who's kind of watched the growth of the Rochester Football Club, the youth side and the semi-pro side, but sticking to the youth side, what have you had to learn as you have been on this journey? Because I think something I reflected back to you this year was really you're heading two different businesses. You guys are running the adult side and the youth side, and while they complement each other, they require two different approaches. So what have you had to learn through this?
Oh, Maria. There's a lot of learning. I think when we look at, just the youth side, when we were, initially it was like U12 and then U14, and then we stuck with two teams from 2020, then COVID happened. Then we ended up having two boys teams, two girls teams. So the more you take on, the more you have to do. And at that point it was myself, Mo, I think, Eric File, who was our youth director, helped. And it's a lot of work. I think people don't realize how much work there is when you're running a club, a youth club, and then a pre-professional side of things. So there's quite a bit of work, and each of those leagues and each of those families requires attention, and talking about rosters, schedules, working with referees, working with the cities on the fields, paying fees, all that, financial stuff.
Yeah. On top of many of you also having jobs outside of the club. So there's all of this stuff happening behind the scenes that, again, would take someone a full-time job, but also many of you, again, and I've just seen a glimpse of that this year, but many of you are doing this outside of your day-to-day job. So that's a lot.
Correct. Yeah. Mo owns a business, Solid Brothers, and he's working, 5 a.m. to 4 p.m. and I am working 7 to 4. So we usually do the Rochester FC stuff like after work. So it does take a toll, and it has taken a toll. And I think this is kind of where you saw a little bit of lack in our marketing, our social media piece, is that we weren't perfect. We weren't expecting to be perfect.
Right.
Our focus was more on the player development side of things, and getting the best out of players, which we're really good at.
Yeah.
We can develop players, we can teach them, coach them, but the marketing side of things, the social media side of things, which to me, like that's like an extra thing to do. So it's like the pluses and minuses, right? Do I want to pay more attention to the kids and provide better development, or do I want to pay more attention to social media? For us,
Yes.
the focus was the kids.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, we're not, that last 8 years before you joined, it was mostly me doing the social media, the marketing, all of it.
I mean, I think wearing every hat under the sun.
Correct.
But
Yeah.
also to your point, though, you guys have said there was many years, though, too, where you were mainly managing like a couple of youth teams, and then again, kind of adding in adult UPSL. You made a switch in 2023 to USL, which is just a slightly different league. Been maintaining and holding, and then again, I would just say in the last year, you guys had some significant growth, which I think shows that there is an appetite for this in Rochester, like people looking for something different. But with that has just come, I think like having to get more comfortable with some of those business aspects of, okay, so then how are we going to strategize our marketing for this? And how are we going to build out team for this? So I ask you this as someone who, again, like living in your purpose is not always easy, right? This is not always easy. How has it been for you being someone who you used to have to hold it all and do everything, to like now slowly beginning to add on more people as part of the team, volunteers coming in to help? Like, how has that process been, learning how to trust people? And also, like, sometimes that bites you in the butt too, right? Like, I think it comes with a lot of lessons, actually.
That's a great question. So doing all this stuff myself for a long time, it's kind of hard to pass some of the information on, because for me, I felt like, hey, I can get this done faster than have to teach somebody.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I've stuck by. But I think, if we look at just this year, 2025 to 2026, we had five youth teams on the boys side. We had 2 UPSL teams, which is like still our youth team basically, and then USL2 and USLW. So that was quite a jump for us.
Yeah.
From going, from 3 adult teams and 2 youth teams the year prior. So we have great coaches that help take on the role, and then as you mentioned, volunteer stuff. So for people that don't know, we are not a very profitable club. We're not a profitable club because a lot of the scholarships that we provide and sponsorship that we get go towards our youth system. And paying for our coaches that are educated, that are experienced. So that plays a big role in us finding amazing coaches. Not saying that they wouldn't volunteer, but we feel like our coaches should be rewarded for the time they put in and invested into the soccer community. Yeah. So,
well, and also just the fact that, like, again, the separate part of the business was running the USL side and the stadium, booking the stadium, the travel, all of, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like, so many things.
Yeah. So that's kind of where, things get really chaotic. You're recruiting USL players, you're trying to bring 56 players to Rochester, you're trying to get housing for them. Once you house them, you got to figure out how they're going to get to the stadium, transportation, and then focus on the youth side. So it is a big take, but for us, it helps when individuals like yourself that have experience in certain roles and are willing to help the club and see why we're doing this. And provide your time and your specialty into something that you believe in is fantastic. So it has helped me significantly over the past year for sure when you jumped on, when, you know, Brittany's come on, Anna's come on,
Yes.
Joe, and all these other individuals that are helping out for sure.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, I think we realize, because again, I can relate to someone who's been a solopreneur for the last 5 years. And I've had a virtual assistant on for the last couple of years. And it's hard because I get that. Like, I'm like, yeah, but I can do this so much faster. I could just create this. I could just make this. And I'm like, okay, no, Maria, you can actually send this to someone and she'll take care of it. And it might not be done perfectly, but it'll get done. But it is hard. And I also think it's interesting because you also start noticing, I mean, you've had more and more families and parents. Cause like you said, I mean, in the last season maybe wasn't perfect, right? But you guys had a lot of growth and we didn't get everything right. And there are things that we can continue to improve on. And we still had a lot of families say, hey, this was different. We loved it. My son or daughter, well, we do have mainly boys teams right now, but like my son improved significantly. And you actually had quite a few parents say like, how can I help? So it's also sometimes like surprising, like the second you do start accepting help, you start like kind of trusting some people and you like let them do their thing. You actually start to realize like more people will help. And that doesn't mean everybody can donate their arm and their leg, you know, but like more often than not, when people see something that they believe in and that's helping their child, they would be willing to step in and also help. So has that been, I don't know, has that been helpful to see?
Yes, it has. So initially, you know, when you volunteered your time and all these other individuals started volunteering, um, it kind of got to this phase of like me, like as I pass this information on to you and others, I'm like, man, that's a lot of stuff to do, right? So when I go back and think like Maria has another full-time job, Joe has another full-time job, right? And me passing on more work and more work and more work to you, I'm like, well, I'm taking time away from her family, taking time away from her full-time job or whatever it is, right? And causing more stress. So that's where I hesitated a little bit, is just trying to give volunteers, right? Volunteers work that may not be rewarding. But I mean, it is rewarding because we're supporting the youth, but like,
Right.
it was kind of like it was tough. But once I think, like yourself again, you like it, you enjoy it, you see
Yeah.
the benefits and what we're providing to families and the youth. And again, it's when I go back to why we started the club, we wanted to be a family club. We wanted to be a way for people to connect and not just come to a practice, go home and be done with it, right? Build the relationships, build friends, build families. And like, I feel like we've done that. And
Yeah.
that is a reason why people are kind of stepping up and saying, hey, where can I help? What can I do? And I think I've seen that, especially this, you know, in the last year for sure.
Absolutely. Okay, now I'm gonna ask you to go a little bit deeper because, and you know that I will never not ask you the hard questions.
Uh-huh.
And so going back to the moment you and Mo decided, like, we're going to do this, we're going to, we want to provide opportunities for more kids. So you had the UPSL teams. We also want to continue to develop local talent, kids that are here. We want them to develop their soccer skills, etc. So you started this thing. And what you found over the 8 years is that it's not always easy. It's a lot of work, time, resources, financially and otherwise, right? Like, it's something that you, Mo, Rafa have all committed to. So I want to ask you, like, why does this mean so much to you? Because truly anybody at this point could have walked away. Like it's like, okay, this is cool, this is fun, it's fun having a football club. But also, I think at times, like, it can be draining, right? And sometimes doing the thing that we love can sometimes be draining. And like, for me, I know when I'm in the midst of like, I don't even want to do this anymore, I have to dig deep. It's like, okay, but why did I say I wanted to do this? So I want you to go on a slightly more personal level, if you can. Like, why does this mean so much to you? Because if you can, I want you to touch upon, like, soccer has been part of your journey. And you also, had a childhood that maybe didn't have some of these opportunities. So why does this mean so much to you?
Yeah, again, it's one of the reasons we started the club is to make sure that the opportunities are there for kids. I think, when I went through the youth system, when I look at like, I was always playing in the backyard with my brother and my friends, but I didn't really get into competitive until shout out to Mr. Whitney. Um, he saw me playing in like recess, just playing soccer with other our friends, and he's like, "Hey, are you playing soccer?" And I'm like, "No, right?"
And
So
how old were you? How old were you? And you were already here?
I was in middle school, so this was about sixth or seventh grade, um, where then I got into rec soccer. So he actually paid for my fees to play that year. I mean, I
Wow.
come from a low income family at that time, so he covered the fees and then got me into rec. And then the rec coaches saw that I had talent, so then they pushed me to competitive. Competitive was more expensive, obviously, so it was all about like scholarships and getting sponsors to help pay for that. And I went through that. But then the other thing that came across is like once you get to like the high school level, varsity level, you start thinking, man, I want to play college soccer.
Yeah.
Well, where do I go? Like, what do I do? That's kind of where I'm like, I didn't know what to do. I mean, I had coaches recruiting me and asking me. I didn't know where I was going to go, but I also started reaching out to teams and clubs and coaches, and I'm like, hey, are you looking for players and this and that? So there's that big gap in our area of like, what do players do if they want to go play college soccer? How do you get recruited, right? So we didn't really have those opportunities. We didn't have a semi-pro team. We didn't have pre-professional teams. We didn't have any of that.
Did we have the Med City FC at that point? Like, so when you were kind of going through and getting through the end of high school, was that even an option or no? Not here.
No, so we had there was a couple years where we had the Rochester Thunder, which was a PDL team at that time. So that was very high level, but a lot of those teams again were already established college players or players that maybe have played professionally already. So it wasn't really a pathway at that time for high schoolers, right?
Okay.
So I think for us, like the other focus of this was like, how can we get exposure to our players that are ready at that level?
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of why we jumped into the USL system in 2023, and getting players in front of Division I athletes, getting players in front of coaches, getting players in front of just on the national level. So again, it's the opportunities that we wanted to provide and bring to Rochester and our kids. And then we also jumped into the USL Academy system, which competed against top clubs in our region. And this is where I think we saw quite a bit of a gap. I think when we looked at talent-wise, is that a lot of cities, states are ahead of Rochester when we look at the talent level. And a lot of people ask us like, hey, why are you guys recruiting and bringing 50 players to Rochester to compete in the USL or USLW? One is that we don't have a lot of players in the area that are hungry for that level or don't seem like they're hungry for that level. Two is we didn't think we could compete with a local talent at that level. Because when you look at all the other teams that are competing at the USL level, they're recruiting top Division I athletes, that are playing Division I. If you look at Rochester hasn't had a Division I athlete in a long time, and we had less than 5 in 30 years. So I think when we look at the reality of it is that, I'm sorry, but like the talent is not there for us to recruit 30 guys for USL2, 30 girls for USLW for us to be able to compete. So
right.
Yeah, so that's kind of another reason why we started our youth system, even expanded in this year and last year, is that, and even started MLS Go, because we want to start focusing on the young kids ages 4 and up and start developing them into these athletes that we believe should be able to compete at that level. So getting the kids on the ball early, getting the right coaches around the kids that believe in the kids, right? I think when we look at building a club, it all comes with who you have in the club. So the coaches have to believe in the philosophy. The coaches have to be the right individuals. They have to believe in the kids. They have to want to develop the kids.
Yeah.
For us right now, I think we have the perfect coaches to continue building the club out.
I agree. And actually, like, going back to your story, like, how much did that mean that that coach or that person that you shouted out, the person who even just like saw something in you, invited you into rec, and then they, like, I guess, like, what did that mean for you? Because I think as a kid, I don't know, like, I mean, I was never scouted as a kid for athletics, that's for sure. But I know even for other endeavors that I had when I was growing up, that meant something when there was a teacher, a coach, or someone who identified a talent or a skill or something in you. Because I don't know, like, I think, like, we say our parents will tell us anything, like, hey, you're doing a great job. But like, so that meant something for you in your story, the fact that a coach saw you, believed in you, fostered in you. I don't know if that's the right word, but and I agree. I think we have some amazing RFC coaches that, I mean, I know we've had some parents who've loved, our coaches at all the ages, but because they actually see the kids aren't just a number. The kids aren't just like, oh, this is just another registration fee that we get, whatever, right? Like, we really see the kids. But again, can you just go back to, like, what did that mean for you? The fact that somebody saw you, like, because would you have done it otherwise? Like, where would you have been if that person didn't see you?
Yeah. So honestly, I don't know where I would have been, because I really didn't know how the soccer system worked in the U.S. Like, I don't know where to play, where to sign up, what to do. So, like, I think, Mr. Whitney, kind of helped me guide me through that, system. And I do see him on and off here and there, and we always kind of chat about that a little bit. But I think the coaches make a huge difference, especially for kids that, like, don't really know the system. So, like, right now, like with our MLS Go, if you take that as an example, and we're getting families that are just starting to, go through that process and understand, like, hey, what's next, rec or competitive. I think having the right coaches who can guide and help the families is important. So, yeah, I mean.
Yeah. And I just feel like even for us, and you know what I mean? Like, I think there's, in Rochester, to be honest, we have families of all incomes. Like, and I think something that makes RFC different is, like, it really doesn't matter what you make. Like, you know what I mean? We try and we continue to aim to try to be as accessible as possible, while at the same time, like, it is a pay to play system, unfortunately, currently now, right? Like, there are fees associated with it. But what I mean to say is, it really does, like, whatever income level you're at, I also just think there's just a lack of knowledge in, like, I don't know what, like, for example, so for me and my husband, we knew that my son wants to play soccer. He's really into it. He is just this type of kid. Like, when he starts something, he wants to be good at it. But I have no idea. I don't know where do you send him? Where do you start? Where do you go? So I've also just really appreciated that, being part of the club and having coaches who are, like, knowledgeable about, like, oh, we're going to, like, obviously develop his skills, get him on the competitive team. But you guys also have global partnerships, like, just trying to get these kids these different opportunities. And so I think that's what any parent, regardless of income, is looking for, is someone to be like, hey, help me navigate this system, because I know nothing about it. It's also been a positive, for our area.
Yeah, I think, like for me, like, I just want to create these opportunities for the kids. I think, like, again, being one of the kids that has always wanted to play professional soccer and experience that, if I can make somebody's dream come true, I would absolutely do that. And we've done that with a bunch of our families that have been part of our system. And I just make a call to Minnesota United. I'm like, hey guys, I have a player for you. When would you be able to have him come out for a trial and just see him? And it works out really great for us, because the player goes and gets seen. But then if they're not the right fit, they also get some really good feedback on what they need to work on, and what we're able to work on with them. So I think, we talk about external partners. We do have quite a bit of partners. And again, the goal with the club is to continue developing partnerships, because we want to create opportunities. So the way you do that is by creating relationships and bringing in partnerships. I think, again, I'll go back to, like, when we were in the USL Academy system, we had to step back from that system, because we noticed that we weren't ready for it, right? Yeah. If you go through and lose games pretty bad, and you end up having teams not wanting to play you because you're not at that level, you realize where you are. So, like, taking a step back, I think when we look at, put this out there, on your podcast that, we were asked to apply for MLS Next Youth, and have met with MLS to create this MLS Next opportunity for our youth players in Rochester. And we were approved to be in there, but then when we look at, one, can Rochester support MLS Next? Yes, there's a lot of talent at the youth level now that we can bring in for each of those teams.
Yeah.
And work with them to develop them to be the next athletes. The problem for us was we didn't have a team for all the age groups that we needed, right? So you kind of have to have the teams to get to the level where you want to compete at. Without having the teams to compete at that level, it's kind of hard to take off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, we do have other opportunities as well that we're exploring. We're investigating other leagues that we want to get into. But again, it comes down to us making sure that the club is ready and has the talent to compete at this level, because we don't want to replicate what happened with our USL Academy system, is that we put a team together, send them out, and they end up getting beaten pretty bad because they're playing against, athletes that are going to go play Division I soccer, or professional soccer. So,
well, and I think it even points out too, I and I've said this too from a marketing standpoint, we can't be afraid to market and call in. At the end of the day, marketing is just literally inviting people into your world, right? If I'm marketing something, but it's because I want to invite more people into our world. And I think we can't be afraid to market to kids, youth, and families who are hungry for soccer. They're hungry for opportunities for soccer. I just think when it comes to the soccer world, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like if you're someone who's passionate about soccer, like you and the other owners are, Rafa and Mo, I mean, obviously on one level, you want to just spread the love of the sport because you love soccer. And it's if we can get Joe and their brother and Mary and Sally playing soccer, that's great. If we can expose more kids to soccer, awesome. And also though, if we can be a club that really helps train kids who really are hungry for soccer and they want those opportunities and they have the hustle and the drive, I just think Rochester and the surrounding area is also looking for that club. That's what we do. We support the next generation of soccer players, because when we talk about going back to why this is important to all of you, because I want to point out Mo and Rafa, the other two owners, have also played at higher levels of soccer. I mean, they both enjoy playing UPSL. They played on our USL teams. I can't speak, I know Mo's played across overseas, all these things, right? At the end of the day, you guys are all hungry for the sport of soccer, and many of you have kids who are also hungry for the sport of soccer. And so I think that just feels like something that we can continue to share out more.
Yeah, I think not everybody's meant for the competitive world. I think, and for us, we want to develop competitive athletes. So I think it's why we started our MLS Go program, which is our development academy, right? Is to give opportunities to the kids that aren't at that competitive level yet and build them out to be that athlete. So yeah, I think it's just working through the details and having the pathways.
Okay. I have two more questions. One is, have you had a moment, or couple, but can you name a moment in the last couple of years where you maybe wanted to throw in the towel, where you were is this all worth it? Basically, what has kept you going? Can you share what does it mean to sometimes live in your purpose, and it's not always easy and it's sometimes messy, and you had to somehow coach yourself through that? Can you share?
Yeah, I've had a lot of those moments every year, I would say. I think when we look at, again, we built this club to provide opportunities and create opportunities for the players, and it becomes quite a bit of work as you work through this, especially if if you have two jobs, if you're trying to take care of family, you're always investing time into this and taking time away from your family and other things that need to be done. So it does become exhausting. It's also it takes a significant financial impact. If we didn't have the sponsors that we do, again, shout out to Penn's Automotive on this, because Todd has been with us since day one.
That's awesome.
We're year 9 of him supporting the club and supporting our kids. And if it wasn't to sponsors like him, yeah, we wouldn't honestly exist. So that's where a big piece of this is we love providing scholarships and all these opportunities, but in the end, if the funding's not there, it's not possible. So, that is one side of things, is you get into the exhaustion of how much work there is to run a club, have a full-time job. The other part of it is, I think, every year you go through realizing that you're not going to make everybody happy. I think, when we look at just this last year, we try to do our best and provide the best opportunities for the kids, and it's never going to be perfect. Again, I've told you, I think many times on the side, is that don't shoot for perfection, because it will never happen. Even when you think you had a perfect season, it wasn't perfect for somebody, right? So you're always going to get feedback and families that are unhappy. And I've talked to multiple coaches that were at our summer tournament, and one of the discussion was man, I'm going to have to start talking to families before I recruit their player to be part of our club, because I think parents forget that we need to develop the players and make the players happy and have them enjoy the game versus making the parents happy. So when you look out on the field and you see, your kid running around having fun, but also developing, and you're on the sideline unhappy because of something that didn't work out well, right? So I think we as parents have to step back sometimes and just look on the field and say, hey, look, is my son having a good time? Is he developing? What else can I do to maybe help the club?
Yeah.
Or maybe, provide that direct feedback. And I always tell our families, please give us the feedback early if you see something, so we can get it addressed and fixed, versus we go a whole season and then you give me the feedback when the season's done and I can't do anything about it, right? So that is one thing. But the other thing, that you asked what keeps me going, I think when we go out on practices and we see all of our teams and all of our kids in the same area, and you see how many kids that you impact, and you think about over the last 9 years, how many kids you had part of a club playing and given opportunities. If you look at, UPSL teams, you look at USL2, USLW teams, just in the 3 years, we've had almost 200, Division I, Division II athletes come to Rochester.
That's wild.
And get them opportunities. So that is, I think, what keeps me going, is just seeing how many opportunities we're giving the kids and letting them play. And, just if you think about MLS Go, we've had 400 plus kids in the last year, part of our MLS Go program. So if we didn't exist, what would those kids do? So I think, that is definitely a big part of what keeps me going every year.
Because it is a lot. It is a lot. And so, not only seeing the impact for each kid, but I even want to add, it's not even just those kids, right? It's the ripple effect of that, so we've had all these kids enroll, and we've had all these different USL2 and USLW players here, and you could count each of those as a whatever, as a win or whatever. But then also there's even a ripple effect of that. That kid goes on, and now has created friendships and bonds that they wouldn't have had otherwise, or they saw something in themselves that they didn't know they had. So truly, I feel that's also even part of, and I think it helps probably too, because both of us have kids in this program that are younger. So we also get to literally watch them, and their faces light up, and, we have friends in the club and watching their kids develop. And I think that's what I've also really enjoyed about this club, is you really get to know all these families. You feel like it's all of our kids just out there, and you cheer for them and you root for them. And again, it makes you want to just continue to develop and grow and keep having it be better. So I appreciate you sharing but also the behind the scenes. It's not always just rewards and rainbows. It's messy and it's hard, but we keep doing it so that we can have more kids having opportunities out there.
Yeah. Like I said, every year you're going to learn something. Every season you're going to learn something. Every year you're going to meet new people, and they may like you, they may not. But as long as I think we try our best to do what we can, even if it may not seem like we're doing our best, we are, I promise. Just for those out there that don't think we're doing our best, we definitely are trying. But yeah, I think, you talk about family again, and when we look at our teams, all of our teams are in the same location, training at the same time, having all of our coaches around at the same time. And again, that is all part of the process of, one, building a family. So if the families are watching, they're all hanging out next to each other, watching the kids. You've got 8-year-olds training next to, 16, 17-year-olds, and being able to connect faces and talk and hang out and, enjoy the game of soccer. So it's about building the family, the Rochester FC family. And I think it's incredible to see, how many families are just getting along, building relationships, and growing together.
Yeah, it's huge. Okay, now we've spent more time talking about the youth academy side, but I do want to wrap up and at least mention on this, because as you mentioned, the big picture is like having this pathway for kids, right? Like opportunities for them not only to just develop and train in, whether it's our developmental training program, whether it's our youth academy and competitive teams, but also then having this USL semi-professional, or if it's getting an MLS team down here, whatever, like the big grandeur things are in the future. And if those that are listening to this, I mean, we're recording out of Rochester, Minnesota, where Rochester FC has been named the partner for a proposed stadium that someone wants to develop here. So can you just share upon or expand upon kind of that part of the vision of like, if we had the stadium here, we have semi-professional teams, like what does that mean for our kids, for them to be able to maybe see themselves having an opportunity to play at higher levels? Can you just share out kind of that piece? Like, what does that mean if we were able to bring that here?
Yeah. Again, this goes back to kind of the beginning of us talking about creating a pathway and development and opportunities for our players. And we've had this discussion with Landmark, for over 2 years now on bringing the stadium to Rochester. And we're super excited that it's going through the process and the approvals and having something here. I think our goal of having a professional team out of Rochester is definitely getting closer. I think, when we look at we've had multiple opportunities from multiple leagues that have approached us and asked us to be part of this professional league. And I think, for us in the community, it's going to be huge. I think, when you have a direct pathway for our community, our local Southern Minnesota athletes that are going to have another professional team to compete for, I think it's huge. I think it's a big step forward. And, we were kind of playing around with that a little bit, with not playing around, but we've had Minnesota United, come down, and we've hosted their professional, MLS next 2 games down in Rochester and RCTC.
Yeah.
And it's to show kids like, hey, you can be at this level and play and, be part of a, professional pathway. So by bringing that down, we just wanted our community to experience the level of soccer and the level they could be at. So yeah, I think we're looking forward to it. Hopefully 2030 we'll have a professional team in the area as we continue to add more work to our to our club and myself and you, Mo, Rafa. But again, it's to the benefit of the youth, the community, and not solely the club or us.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, one more question before I wrap this up. In 2015, 2016, 2017, so before you sat down with Mo at the pool, before if you had to go back to yourself in 2017 or whatever, and then knowing what you were going to do next, would you do it all over again?
That is a tough question. Honestly, if we go back and think about it, it's not easy. It's not easy. You said it. You're coming in and running. You've got a youth club. That's one business. You've got a USL women's side. That's another business. You've got a UPSL side. That's another business. You've got a USL2 side. That's another business. So just on a soccer club level, you're running 5 businesses in one. So it's definitely exhausting. But I'm going to go back to, the discussion around like looking at the faces of the kids that you've impacted and the kids that you're providing opportunities for, and the relationships we're building, like soccer.com, the Adidas, the Minnesota United, like our parents, yourself. I would have never met you probably if we didn't go through the process, right? I would have never met Robert, Emmanuel, all these families, Joe, any of these individuals.
Even Rafa, like, you know what I mean? Like Rafa may have come into your guys' world.
So I think, yeah, I mean, it's a tough question. Exhaustion wise, it's a lot exhausting, but I would definitely do it all over again. The only difference I would do is get more people involved early in the process to get more support and make it easier for myself, Mo, and Rafael.
Yeah, that's huge. And I think that's what I will say to anybody listening is that if you are feeling like there's something that you want to do, that you want to put out into the world, number one, I mean, I'm always going to be team like, do it, because like I stayed in a profession for too long that I hated, that did give me a great salary, a great paycheck, great money. And I was also dying inside and I hated it. And I would say like, I didn't step away soon enough, but at the end of the day, like when you have something that you really want to do, take that leap. I'm always going to tell people do it. And though, even like from listening to this story, and having Midhat share his story here today, it's also remembering we're moving into a time where we're meant to do these things together. Like you don't actually have to do it all on your own, which is hard because I know many of us who are dreamers, visionaries, whatever, like you're kind of used to being the lone wolf. You're used to doing things on your own. But I think the lesson from this story is like, be okay asking for help. Be okay if someone's like, hey, this is my area of specialty, I could help you with this. Like, accept the help. You can do things as a community, you can do things as a family, as a team, because it's actually going to make it a lot easier in the long term versus like holding on to everything so tightly. Like, it's like, but I get it. I'm also that person who's like, I love to have control. So if you're listening, just listen to whatever it is, the dream or vision that you have, but don't be afraid to ask for help. Yeah. All right, Midhat, where can people connect with you? Where I know I forced you to make your private page public this year. So where can people connect? Where can people follow the story of Rochester FC? And then just know that I'll also have any of the links down below in the show notes as well.
Yeah, I just want to add to your point before is that be okay not being perfect. Be okay getting constructive feedback and learning from it. Be okay just like meeting people and just trying new things. I think it's important that people understand that you're, again, never going to be perfect. You're going to learn and you're going to continue to learn and you're always going to learn. So just keep that in mind as if you're starting a business or trying something new, is that perfection is a goal, but it will never be there. So
I love that.
You can, I'm on Instagram, Midhat Mujic. You can look me up there, Facebook, and then you can always connect with me through our Rochester FC pages, so rochester-fc.com. Same with the social medias, Rochester FC Minnesota, and then Rochester FC Academy.
Awesome. I will have all of that linked down below. Midhat, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you, Maria. Thanks, everybody.